Allina Health is proud to support your Loons as the official healthcare provider of Minnesota United. Every day, we provide expert care to keep the team in top form on match day. All across Minnesota and western Wisconsin, you can find the same dedicated providers just a short drive away. It's expert care when and how you need it. Schedule your visit at allinahealth.org today. Allina Health, all together better. Welcome back to this episode of the Sound of the Loons podcast brought to you by Allina Health. I am your host, Zarek Fountain, and we are here with Mr. Slam Dunk in San Diego. Big Dunk, Kyle Duncan.
Big Dunk.
Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here, man.
Is this your first ever podcast, apparently?
Yes, I think this actually is my first ever podcast.
Okay, so imagine, I'll explain it to you. Do you listen to podcasts?
No.
Okay, so imagine it's an interview, but it's a long interview.
Actually, I do listen to one podcast.
Which podcast?
From New York. It's from one of my boys. It's called Talk That Shh podcast.
Oh, I was going to say Deezer Samaro?
No. No.
Those guys are hilarious.
No.
So it's going to be a long form interview. I get to shamelessly ask you every question, some preset, some not preset, about your life, your career, your family, what you like to do on the field, maybe some dogs, maybe talk about some fountains, apparently. I'm learning a lot of stuff, but we're going to really put you under the gun with some of these questions. But first and foremost, introduce yourself to the fans as they get to know people a lot through these conversations. So introduce yourself to the fans and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Kyle Duncan. Born August 8th, 1997 from Brooklyn, New York. And raised by two beautiful Jamaican parents. And, just moved to Minnesota from New York.
There you go. I'm August 6th, so another Leo
Yeah.
we have in the building, which is good. I always get along very well with Leo.
Yeah.
Grew up on the East Coast. Very different from Minnesota. I'm an East Coaster as well. What do you like, love, miss, don't miss about living up on the East Coast, especially in New York?
New York, where I grew up, is it's like the Caribbean. So, you find Jamaican spots over there. So that's the big thing that I miss. Being on the East Coast.
The food, right?
Yeah.
What's your go-to Jamaican dish?
Oxtail and rice and peas.
I was gonna say oxtail as well. Festival?
Festival sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Then you obviously what's your go-to juice then? You don't drink it with wine.
Sorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I drink a lot of sorrow.
Yeah, one of my wife's friends from college was Jamaican, so she would come over. They should make some jerk chicken. She would do some of the meals, and then. In Portland, we always had 3, 4, 5, 6 resident Jamaicans on the team. And in preseason, I would find myself eating Jamaican food every night with them in Tucson, Arizona. Did you guys used to go to Tucson back in the day with Red Bull?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one Jamaican spot. I think it was on Speedway. And we were there every night. Every night. So I got my Jamaican fix, and it was one of these things where I'm from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So a lot of the Caribbean food is similar-ish.
Yeah.
A lot of the same ingredients, different spices, right? So it'll look the same, it'll just taste a bit different. So for me, if you have any good recommendations, or if anyone does in the comments for good Jamaican food, do you have any places or not yet?
I have no place here. I'm still looking for places.
Okay.
So if you guys have recommendations, please.
Yes, that'd be great. Send those in the comments. That would be great. But New York. How'd you get involved in soccer? Because it's not known for, the New York teams are good. Gotchi, Eastern New York South when I played ODP, they had a lot of really good players.
Yeah.
And how'd you end up living in Brooklyn to playing soccer and not necessarily maybe getting another sport, or maybe you did?
So the thing is, I was actually playing soccer in Queens. With a family started club.
Nice.
Called Rosedale Rockets Soccer Club. My uncle started that club when I was younger. Started there when I was 3.
Yeah.
And I played there until I was 14. And then that's when I was playing with Gotchi, and that's when I got into academy stuff, 14, 15, played with Gotchi for a little bit. Then after Gotchi, went to Red Bulls Academy.
So you probably did you get recruited into the Red Bull Academy? Or was it just you tried out?
I went to try out. So Phil Swenda. Phil Swenda, that was the coach at the time. I actually went to try out during the winter. It was indoors.
Oh.
Funny enough, I ended up, banging a coach on his head there, and it was like a whole crazy thing there.
And what's that like? You like with a shot?
Yeah, like my small head, banged his head open.
So it was a collision.
A big collision.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy there. But
so they didn't make the team.
I didn't make the team. That was just like a very big thing. Guys talked about that a lot. But yeah, I grew up. Went to the academy.
How far is that drive? The drive must
from
have
Brooklyn?
Been, yeah.
The commute was crazy. That's actually another story to get into.
Yeah.
Because
come on, we're listening. Yeah.
My dad.
We have plenty of time.
When I was younger, my dad would carry me back and forth from Brooklyn to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Sometimes we would even take the train.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we would train at Rutgers University. It's in Newark.
Yeah.
We would take the train because sometimes he'd be tired, and my dad's on disability, so that was a big thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted to see me make it, so that was like a big stepping point.
Yeah.
To me making it.
So that was a labor of love. So your dad was really big into your just commitment to get to and from. Because again, I don't know if and when the Red Bulls facility was born, but or when it was born, when it became a thing. But obviously, training in Newark, commuting from Brooklyn, even if you're taking the path and you're taking the subway, that's a haul.
It was a haul, man.
So what are your memories then? I mean, obviously, because this wasn't when you were 3 years old and you have no memories. What are your memories of with you and your pops just on the train? Did you guys talk a lot? You listen to music? Was there a variety of everything? Did you have your normal places, or how was that?
I mean, most of the time he was tired.
Yeah.
Because doing that commute back and forth, it's a lot of work. So sometimes I have to wake him up while we're on the road.
Yeah.
And just seeing him go through that for me made me want to, go through this for him.
So it gives you that little extra oomph to kind of go out there and, because it's one thing when you hear about your parents' sacrifices financially. A lot of parents do in America. That's a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
But when you can physically see their sacrifices, whether they're tired, whether they're putting in extra work, whether they're picking you up late, working 2 jobs, it hits a little bit different. My mom and my parents went through, their own struggles, but everyone does. So when you can see that firsthand, you're going, man, I want to do this for you.
Yeah.
And ultimately that led you to getting, your first pro start in France. Talk to us about that opportunity.
Big opportunity for me. I actually had some family friends in France at the time, and my cousin was there at PSG. So those family friends helped me out with getting a club. Funny enough, I actually committed to Monmouth University.
Okay.
But at the time, my grades weren't as good as I wanted them to be. So I was going to go to LIU in Brooklyn and then get my grades up and then transfer to Monmouth University. I ended up saying, I don't want to do that right now. So I went to France in the summer of 2015 after I graduated. And it was just a struggle while I was there. I tried out for PSG. Coaches ended up liking me, but they didn't want to give me a pro contract. And I also didn't have dual citizenship.
Yeah.
So in order to sign me, I needed dual citizenship. Yeah. Another thing is being in France, getting my first pro start, Valenciennes. So I tried out for PSG. I tried out for a few other clubs. I tried out for Troyes FC. I tried out for Angers, and then Valenciennes. I landed there, and I went to preseason with them, and things just ended up, going well until it didn't.
What do you mean until it did? Was it just, if you want to, can we dive deeper into that?
I feel like it was kind of like my fault in a sense. I got too complacent, and I felt like I was above all those other kids that were there just because I was with the first team as a young kid. Like at the end of the day, you can't just say you're better. Yeah. You have to show you're better. Yeah. And I stopped showing I was better when I got over there. So that was a big downfall for me. But, it ended up leading me back to Red Bulls. Yeah. No, it wasn't that bad. So
you're doing my job for me over here. You're taking it back to Red Bulls. And obviously you seem very introspective about your time in France. And I think every pro outside of Landon Donovan and all these guys who never have struggles, and Landon has struggles, but I'm saying like a lot of pros have this turning point struggle moment in their careers. And I know part of mine was getting cut from residency when I was younger. I thought I was the biggest man on campus, and I was cut like 2 months later.
Yeah.
I thought I was so good.
That's what happened.
And then the coach was like, yeah, you're not that good, and cut me. So that was a big one for me. Eventually, even in Montreal, I just wasn't focused in my career, and eventually got loaned out the following year to Norway, which ended up being an incredible experience. But just having this very humbling moment where the coach pulled me into his office and he was just like, you're not in my plans. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I've always been
on top of that too, like I was in Valencia by myself.
Yeah.
And then, the coaches, dealing with the coaches, not playing well, like coaches telling you to go back to America and stuff like that. Like, it was a big struggle for me.
So. What is the biggest thing you took from your time in France to now going back to Red Bulls and spending time there?
I think it was that. Yeah. Just to never get complacent. Like where you are in life is truly a blessing, and you should continue to, want to get 1% better every day. Yeah. And I stopped that. I stopped doing that when I was in France. So, like I think now, like I learned, like I want to become 1% better every day. Yeah. Yeah. And
that experience, through the Red Bulls experience, led you to going back out to Europe.
Yeah.
Back to Belgium.
Europe is where I wanted to be. Yeah. That led me to go back to Belgium, where I was with Ostend FC. Anything could happen. It wasn't the biggest club. Yeah. But at the time, I'm like, okay, I'm playing in Europe, and sometimes it's harder to be seen in America than it is to be seen in Europe. And like they say, Belgium's a feeder league, so any team can pick you up. I know guys that were with Ostend who went to Coventry, who went to all these like a few big clubs. So I wanted to take my chances there, and it was a great experience.
Get your game day meal stress-free with a slice and a seat ticket pack presented by Red Baron. Your ticket comes with $20 of loaded food and beverage credit for select home matches in 2026. Grab your seat and some tasty Red Baron Stadium pizza starting at just $38. Visit MNUFC.com for more info. And so, do you speak French now? Because you have to speak a little bit. No, because a little bit.
I understand more than I speak.
Yeah. So when Momo and Owen are speaking French, you can understand bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, I understand.
I feel like you have to have a little bit, but yeah, it's funny because MLS is a huge league. There's no debating that around the league. Everyone knows it. But it's interesting though, because I've always made the argument how when you're in Europe, there's a little bit of a bias towards the knowledge of the European leagues. Belgium is a feeder league. I played in Norway. Yeah. And I always knew if I had a good season or two, whatever, I might have the opportunity to go elsewhere because the leagues in Europe are so well oiled to know that if someone scores 10 goals in this league, it might equate to 7 in this league, and then we can take this type of player and move on. Yeah. But when it comes to you playing with players that made the jump, for example, my last year in Norway, Danny Cruz was there. But our center forward was Alexander Sørloth. Sørloth just played in that Atletico Madrid Barcelona game, and he's led the La Liga in scoring, I think once or twice. So
that's what I mean.
Exactly, you know what I mean. And we played for a small club. Well, now Glimt is blown up. I had to talk to Danny, but it was a small club in the northern part of Norway that had a good amount of history, but it wasn't anything crazy. But clearly, Alex went there, and then we had a few other guys go to leagues, to Galatasaray and some of these clubs, and you're sitting there going, man, why is that happening a lot more often than in MLS? And I think it's just because the familiarity with the league and what talent transfers there. Yeah. Because MLS, there's still a lot of unknown, in my opinion. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that when it comes to MLS. It's really unfamiliarity when it comes to that.
Yeah, because if you're playing for your club in Belgium and you're playing Anderlecht and you ball out, they know that's a team. Yeah. Whereas if you're playing Vancouver, they have no frame of reference. As much as over here. Obviously, they have no frame of reference how good Vancouver is. Is it a bad team? Is it a good team? Yeah. Is it hard to go away to Houston in the summer? And you're going, yeah, it is. But they have a lot of Europeans don't understand that. And for me, that was always an interesting dynamic to look at it because I'm playing certain games in front of 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people, but I know that those are being watched by certain eyes. And, you know, now MLS days are, you know, things are getting a lot further along, but it's interesting that you bring that up because I always have interesting conversations about that. But after your time in Belgium, we're back in New York. Yeah. How did it feel to go back as a more experienced player, a stint under your belt in Europe, playing games there, just to go back and kind of to enjoy that process again, maybe from a different perspective?
It was a beautiful thing. Just being back with family, being back in your hometown, you know, that's where you want to play. So I was happy to be there. And I was ready to get started. But then I tore my ACL when I got back, which was another struggle for me. But it was also, I didn't take it as a setback. I took it as a learning moment. And, you know, I came back from that and it took off from there in 2019.
What did you learn from the learning moment?
That not all, just that, like, how can I put it? God puts you where you're supposed to be at the right time. So I just took it as that.
Yeah. And you learn and you grow from those experiences. And I always say it's always difficult to see the brightness when you're in the forest, when you're in the thick of it, right? You can't see a lot of the good things, and it's easy to get kind of caught up in the now. Yeah. Right. And but to trust the process, shout out Joel Embiid and my Philly guys, to trust the process a bit and to kind of, I would say, as Chance Myers, my buddy who works in Nashville, says, cuddle the struggle, to kind of be like, you know what, this is hard, and acknowledge that's the case, but it's not a be a forever thing. And you can learn and you can grow from that and take step by step, get the 1% better every day. And then ultimately you will get to where you're out of the forest and you see the brightness and you see why you went through certain struggles, and really to take those lessons and that mindset. And then when you are in a good place, you don't, you know, you keep your highs low and your lows high. You don't get yourself too high because you know that things can change, but ultimately you do value the good moments because you also had those tough moments and those did change and, you know, force you into the person you are today. And that person today is now in Minnesota. So what's it like? Talk about the decision-making process to come here, because ultimately you did get here a little bit later than everyone. Take us through the thought process and coming to Minnesota.
Wow. Might get a little emotional.
No worries.
I'm joking.
We can get emotional if we want.
Okay.
Grace, we'll get some tissues.
Yeah, it was like how can I put it? I mean, at the end of the day, it was between Minnesota and Colorado. Yeah. But that was at the end of all of what was going on, you know?
Of course.
It started out with me having no team during the off season. Knowing that I, you know, wouldn't have a team during the off season, and all that uncertainty was getting to me, you know. But during the off season, I leaned on God, and I chose to make that decision just based off everything that was going on in my life. I was leading with my own flesh, as is like a spiritual saying. Do not lead with your own flesh. Lean on God and rely on His mercy. And as I started to, you know, walk through life through God, it took me to a different place than how I was living life. I was living life in more of a simple way than more of a complex way. And when I started living life through God, it became more complex, and I understood why it became more complex, because the changes I was making in my life, it started to, you know, better my life for myself, you know. And that is one of the reasons I even picked the number 3 when I came here. It has to do with the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. You know, the Father being God, who's at the pinnacle of it all. The Son being Jesus Christ, who He sent to carry our sins, and the Holy Spirit, who like unites you with Christ. So yeah, during the off season, I was training on my own. Then fast track to February, when I got to going. Where did I go? I went to San Diego. To train for a bit, and you know, things didn't really work out there.
For good reason.
Yeah, for good reason. I wasn't in the
on purpose. It didn't work out there for a reason.
Yeah, for a good reason. Yeah, God didn't want me to be there. But he wanted me to be there at that, specific time. And, I got the training that I needed to stay fit, and I ended up coming to Minnesota. And my time here has been great, coming from having, like, the fact that I had no team to come into preseason late to now, like, basically being a starter on the team, like, it's like all of that is just sinking in, and like it makes me feel emotional sometimes, but at the same time, like, it's a blessing, and I have to hold on to that blessing and realize, like, I can't let that go, and I can't ever let that feeling that I had go, because I never want to feel that way again. So yeah, all this has been great, man.
We can clip that, put that on social media, put it everywhere. That's what I'm talking about in terms of, I think that journey of yours just shows the kind of person and the human that you are, and also the teammate, because I see that with a teammate. So credit to you, overcoming a lot. It's not easy. Free agency is very difficult. I've been there myself. And I ended up in Minnesota, and it's funny because I actually thought that you took number 3 because you wanted to honor me, because I was the last guy to wear number 3 on the team, but I guess not. But no, I think that story perfectly encapsulates you as a person. So if you want to eventually get that clip, we can put that out there and you say, this is who I am as a person, the good, the bad, the ugly, the amazing things, the humbleness through the struggle, but also understanding, there's a lot of great things that come along with that is awesome. And we are very happy to have you. You've been a great addition to the locker room. You've been a great addition on the field. Your professionalism has been awesome. So for me, from a coaching perspective, I've really enjoyed you within the group. And this for also someone to come in with a perspective of earning your spot and just figuring out where you belong. And again, having this confidence, but not necessarily
it's everyday
overly
thing.
Confident. Yeah, it's an everyday.
Earning my spot is an everyday thing.
Yeah, and and I think that's, and I hope, and I know you're a veteran, obviously, but as someone to pass that along to the younger generation, because again, it almost resets every day. Maybe you can build up some credits a little bit, with some good plays or goals or whatever, but ultimately, the day you stop earning it is the day someone starts gaining on you in whatever perspective that is as a lineup. But we're going to shift a little bit. We have a few more minutes left, so I'm going to, talk a little bit. Apparently you got a puppy or a dog, and I want to hear about some of the dog, your dog, no?
So I actually have, I have 2 dogs.
2 dogs?
My
it is plural. We have dogs.
My girlfriend actually has a dog as well. Her name is Coco Chanel, and my dog's name is Kyle Duncan.
Nice.
Yeah. He's a Cane Corso, and my girlfriend's dog is a pit bull lab. Okay. Yeah.
So we're gonna do a quick thing real quick. We'll see if we can get these. We're gonna blind rank these dogs. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dogs. German Shepherd. We'll do a rating from 1 to 10. German Shepherd. What do you got? 1 to 10. 10 being the best dog in the world.
I'll put it as a 7. My aunt actually had a German Shepherd, and they were smart.
They're very smart.
Yeah, he used to open the gate on his own, go use the bathroom, and come back.
But the thing is, you need to train him and actually, walk him like crazy. 8.
I'll give it an 8.
Okay,
yeah.
8's a solid 8. Pug.
2.
You don't like pugs?
No.
I have half Frenchie, half Boston Terrier mix. That's tough to the Eagle. Beagle. Joaquin. Joaquin is a Beagle.
Give it a 5.
Joaquin's not gonna be too happy with you. What do we got? Chihuahua.
Oh, that is a 1.
Okay, but say if you gave a pug a 2, a Chihuahua has to be
1.
Lower than that. Okay, thank you. What about a Dachshund?
Can I give a 0?
Yeah, you can give a 0.
Yeah, I don't like hot dogs.
Golden Retriever.
Ooh, yeah, that's a beautiful dog right there. I'll give that an 8.5.
8.5. There you go. All right. Husky.
Ooh. I give that 9.
I saw a viral video of a husky and a golden retriever that were interbreeded, and it was awesome.
I love huskies.
Last but not least, King Corso.
Corso's always
10?
a 10 for me. Yeah.
10?
Corso's always a 10 for
me. Aren't those dogs are super scary. I don't really mess with scary things, but are they sweethearts at the end of the day?
Yes. They're big babies.
Last but not least, you made the accusation that you could freestyle on any beat. Is that an actual thing? And I'm not going to ask you today, but this will happen eventually.
If can actually freestyle.
Okay.
To anything.
Where's that come from? That just
so me and my brother used to dance when I was younger, and ever since then, like I just look at videos of people dancing, and I can just imitate what they're doing.
So I always made the ask, if you had to choose to be Chris Brown level dancer or like Whitney Houston vocals, if you had to choose one of them, because I always say I would choose the dancing. Because I find
Chris
that
Brown dancing.
Yeah, I find it like a form of expression. Obviously, I can't dance, and we're not gonna get that on camera. Yeah. But it's just two different talents, right? And you have some people who can do both.
I would definitely do Chris Brown dancing.
You can dancing. Yeah. So you have scored and you didn't dance. So
just was my first goal though.
Can we get a potential preview before we go? Can we get a preview? Would there be a dance next time? If now that we have the first one out, less emotion.
I can't give a preview.
No. I'm saying like, is there something in the
works? Yeah.
Okay.
So I went home. My girl was like, "You didn't even dance. You were just like locked in."
Yeah, there you go.
That's another reason I was locked in though, because I went to San Diego.
Yeah. I respect. It's okay.
Wanted to kill them.
There you go.
Like,
good.
Simple as that.
Good. So, well, you were playing San Diego this weekend. They're just wearing green and gold.
Yeah. And I'm gonna kill this team too. Yeah. Portland's gonna get killed as well.
Oh man, awesome, dude. Well, listen. Thank you so much for coming on this week's episode of the Saddle Wounds podcast, brought to you by Line of Health. Mm-hmm. It was awesome getting to know you on a little bit of a deeper spiritual level as well. I know the fans are really enjoying what they're seeing on the pitch. Yeah. But again, keep up all the good work. Keep being a leader in the locker room that I know you are. Keep training hard because you're making guys around you better. But again, thank you so much for coming on. Maybe we'll have you later in the year. Maybe we'll see.
Maybe
we'll see.
I don't feel like I did too good.
What
today.
would you give the podcast on a scale of 1 to 10? How would you feel your performance was?
Because I love you, Z, I'll give it a 9.
Ooh, we'll take it. All right, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.